Hello, everyone. I had a thought today as I was going through some different topics um, that relate to weight, um, weight loss journeys, and things that can be helpful and things that can be different challenges. Um, and one of the challenges that I've had over the course of, well, what was I saying, the last 15 years, maybe 20, that I've been on a weight loss journey of some sort where I've been, trying to get myself back to a stable weight. And one of the things that's made it challenging in the last 10 years, I would say, definitely the last 10 years, was working with some of the treatments that I use to manage my mental health, primarily medications, and how they can have an effect on my body that can make weight loss easier to put on weight, which can affect my appetite, make me extremely hungry. Excuse me. Or um, they just make it, you can't lose weight, you're starved, you just want to eat nonstop, and or they make you extremely lethargic. So the idea of putting on your running shoes and going out is next to impossible. And it's a difficult kind of back and forth for a lot of people. There's a lot of different reasons that a person who takes medication to manage a mental health issue. Um, I mentioned in a couple other videos my diagnosis. I've had a few. Is bipolar 1, a little bit of rapid cycling. So my moods go up and down more frequently. Not day to day, even usually, but could be a few, at least 4 times a year, they go up and down. And the medications that I take include mood stabilizers, antipsychotic medication, and antidepressants. And each of those have different actions that deal with weight. I found with antidepressants, it was difficult for me. It was easy for me to put on weight and difficult to take it off. Different antipsychotics that I took, I blew up, just completely blew up. I was starving when I was taking them. And it was mostly late night eating because they also caused sedation. And I would take them and then try to lay down and try to go to sleep. And then, like half an hour later, I would be ravenous. I would just basically pull a chair up to the fridge and sit there with a fork and just like this. Um, if you've ever smoked marijuana, um, you're familiar with the sensation of the munchies. Um, I won't say if I ever did or didn't smoke marijuana, but if you have that for comparison, that's the kind of mental effect, side effect that some of those medications have. So, of course, the weight piled on. But when I was on a good round of medications, my mood was stable. I was functional. I could get up and do real life human things, the kind of things I wanted to have in my life. I was able to get to work. I was able to stay out of jail. I was able, for the most part, that'll be another video. I was able to stay this side of a psych ward, which was difficult for a number of years. But the trade off, and for someone who has a history with eating disorders, um, the trade off was sane, but maybe a little heavier because the meds have those side effects, or thin, but batshit. Do I want to see my hip bones, but hear voices, or can I be have sound mind even if I'm a little unhappy with my body? The, there's a lot of different reasons people go off medications when they're taking them. Could be sexual side effects, could be um, other more serious side effects. Not that sexual isn't severe; it can damage a relationship or make it harder. Um, and weight gain. Weight gain's another one. So, was I ever tempted to go off of my meds because of the weight issue? Of course, of course. Um, there was a period when I was away for a little while, and then came home, and I was starting on a round of the drug is called Seroquel, and it was effective for a number of years in managing um, the mental health issues that I was dealing with. Some of them, not all of them. I mean, pills are only like, for me, they're less than half the solution to dealing with what's going on, but they still had their part in my recovery. And the medication I was taking, which was very helpful, also made me extremely hungry. Um, at the time, I was having a short period of sobriety, and I would take the Seroquel. It made me feel a little buzzed. It would make me hungry. And since I couldn't drink, but I was also not dealing with anything in my life, emotion wise or otherwise, I turned to bulimia. And the Seroquel made the binging just so mindless. I just eat, go throw up, go back downstairs, get more food. I mean, I would binge and purge two, maybe three times in like an hour and a half. Um, so there was so much hunger and so ravenous and so empty, and I was trying to fill it. And this was a bad intersection of things that all came together. You know, my old eating behaviors, my way of thinking, add that to artificially induced hunger, a sense of my decision making is not quite clear because I'm a little sedated, and it was a perfect storm for that kind of thing. So no, I didn't want to take that medication. I always felt guilty the next day. It was like a food hangover. If you're a binge eater, you probably get that. Or if you've ever been a restricted eater, like anorexic behaviors or anything, and you've eaten more than you technically allow yourself to eat, you understand that guilty feeling too. So it was a difficult decision to make. What? Oh God. Now, on the other hand, I've lost an ass ton of weight when I've had meds switched or taken away. There was a period, it was at the end of 2011, and I had had two short inpatient psychiatric stays in the community hospital. So I was on the psychiatric wing of the community hospital. And the first one, I was just going for a med change, and it's in a safe environment to do it in the hospital. So I did. And I disagreed with how the doctor was changing my medications, but when you're in a place where they take your belt and your shoes and the door is locked, you kind of, if you want to get out, go along with what they're saying. You kind of give them the okey doke unless you want to stay longer. So I took whatever pills he gave me, and I started to feel better really quick. I'd gone in with some depression and some other issues, and went home and felt spectacular. And then a week later, had a bit of a break, a breakdown. I would have felt like it was a breakthrough. I was in a very manic state. It was starting to get dangerous. So back to the hospital I went. Changed some meds around again, and then I went home. The episode that had lasted after that breakdown, um, partially psychotic episode type thing, it wasn't as scary as that sounds. If you know what those are, you know they're not that big of a deal. Not that they're not a big deal, but they're not like in the movies. Um, from that med change, I lost 40 pounds in 2 months. So the weight came off at the same time. So I kind of had to, the way it kind of reconciled was that when I finally started getting better, I mean, not drinking, not just not a little, not at all, and taking the medications they were giving me and keeping mood charts and taking a little more responsibility for feeling better, not like depending on other people to my therapist is supposed to make me feel better. The pills are supposed to make me feel better. I should get hugs on demand if I need them, things like that. When you're in rehab, that's all they do is hug you. So um, I started to have to come to accept if I'm going to be well, and I was resigned to that at the time. If I'm going to be well, I have to take the medication. If it's a trade-off between my sanity and my hip bones, then that's just how it's going to have to be. I didn't accept that for years, like 2 or 3. But I kind of came to grips with it, and then I was okay. There was other validations that were coming through in my life, which also helped reassure me that um, my size was not getting in the way of me having the things I wanted to have. I was able to get a job, and it didn't matter that I was heavier. It mattered that I was lucid. I was able to start a relationship, and I was at one of the highest weights I'd ever been at. And so I knew that meant it wasn't about that for these things that were important to me to have them happen. So I had made peace with, well, this is just how my body looks, whatever, it's okay. Then it was easier to get the journey started. Then it was easier to try because I was already satisfied with where I was at. I wasn't thrilled with it. I was willing to change it. I was, happy to start a weight loss journey and change how I felt and how I looked and get somewhere healthier. But I didn't totally hate the way I looked anymore. And I didn't feel like it was getting in the way. I didn't feel like I can't do anything till I lose this weight. I'm not going to date till I lose this weight. I'm not going to get a job because I don't want to buy beer clothes or anything like that. So it kind of forced me to have to accept myself in that way because I believed that that was the end all be all. And while things had changed, the meds have changed, my attitude has changed, my circumstances have changed, my eating behaviors have changed, all sorts of stuff. And my life looks completely different than it did 10 years ago. It's completely different. Um, so, it's just, it was time. It was time to do it now. And there was no pressure. There was no pressure. There was no pressure from anybody that I, you know, consider their opinion very heavily, um, that had put on me. So I just got support from all those areas instead. So I was happy. I was happy that happened coming from the outside in. And I'm glad that I was in a good frame of mind to get it started. And I think that's led to the success. I said in another video, you don't have to love yourself to lose weight. There's plenty of people that hate themselves and lose weight. I've lost my weight before out of hate, out of self-loathing, out of, if you're hungry, you deserve it, you pig. I've said all those things to myself in the past, and you'll lose 2 pounds whether you're smiling or crying as long as you don't eat. So, it can be a positive journey. It can be a positive step. And I'm glad that that's what this has turned out to be. And I'm glad that because of the changes I've had in my treatment, I'm on some medications at this time that allow me to do this. I wouldn't say easily, between my age and me not being super super rigid with my calorie counting and stuff. Because the more rigid I get, the more rigid I get, and then I wake up Anna and Mia, and I don't want them kicking around my house or my bathroom or my toilet. So, got to pull it back sometimes with that. And it allows me to I'm just in a good spot. I'm in a good spot now. And uh, I'm okay. I'm okay. It's nice. It's nice to be okay. It's nice to not have to worry about the late night eating, have to, worry about stuffing myself into my clothes. I don't have to worry about um, thinking my partner is going to get, sick of me for being too fat, um, or I'm going to lose my job because I'm too big to come in to work in work clothes because I don't own anything that's really my size that looks appropriate to wear to work. That's another hard one that comes down the pike sometimes. Uh, so those are my thoughts. I'm just rambling at this point. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. If anyone's interested in knowing anything else about mental illness, I'm not a doctor. I'm not an expert. I don't even think you need a disclaimer for that. You'd have to be a complete idiot to listen to some guy on YouTube giving, plus I wouldn't give medical advice. If you take anything that I've suggested and run with it, Godspeed, my friend. But if you want to know more about bipolar disorder or any factual information, you can Google it. I can give you some of my experience if you're interested. And if you're not, let me know that too, because then I won't even film it. So thanks for tuning in. I will catch up with y'all soon. Tomorrow's weigh-in Wednesday. So check it out if you get a chance. All right. Bye.